There's a kind of silence that never calms the heart. You lay in bed, exhausted not from work, but from fighting your own thoughts. You smile around people, but deep down, you're begging for rest. Not the body, but of the soul. And you keep wondering, why can't I find peace? Why do I still feel empty, no matter how much I try? The answer is painful, but necessary, because the truth is, you can't find peace while still doing the very things that destroy it. Peace cannot coexist with chaos you choose to keep. There is a deep truth that most people are too afraid to face because facing it means taking responsibility, and responsibility means change. That truth is this: peace cannot exist in a place where you continue to entertain the very things that disturb it. You cannot beg for calm while holding onto the chaos with both hands. Peace isn't found. It's not something you stumble upon while walking through life. It is created, built, and more importantly protected. And what so many people don't realize is that the greatest threat to peace is not always the noise of the world, but the chaos they refuse to walk away from. We all say we want peace, we pray for it, we meditate for it, we read books about it, but when it's time to choose between peace and chaos, we often pick the familiar pain over the unknown calm, because chaos is comfortable when you've lived in it long enough. Toxic people, unhealthy patterns, old memories, emotional baggage. We carry these things like they're precious, like we can't live without them, and then we wonder why we're exhausted, drained, bitter, and broken. You can't find peace while arguing with people who don't want to understand you. You can't find peace while trying to control what's already out of your hands. You can't find peace while reliving old wounds, replaying old conversations, trying to make sense of someone else's betrayal. And yet, we keep doing it. Why? Because it feels easier to keep chaos than to face what's under it. It feels easier to stay angry than to feel the sadness beneath the anger. It feels easier to keep blaming others than to admit how long we've allowed them to stay in our lives. But nothing changes until we choose to stop. Nothing gets better until we choose to stop being our own enemy. Holding on to what hurts you is not strength. It is fear disguised as loyalty. Resentment disguised as justice. And it always costs you something: your mental space, your energy, your nights of sleep, your ability to enjoy the present. That's the trade-off we make every single day, trading our peace for the chaos we've convinced ourselves we can't live without. We say we want peace, but we stay in relationships that suffocate our spirit. We say we want clarity, but we never turn off the noise long enough to hear ourselves think. We say we want freedom, but we keep running back to the cages we built from fear, guilt, and habit. You have to understand this: peace is not passive. It is a fight, a decision, a discipline. You don't get peace just because you're tired. You get peace because you get hostile with yourself. You get peace because you stop making excuses for people who disrespect you. You get peace because you no longer chase closure from those who never gave you clarity. You get peace when you finally say, enough. Enough with the drama. Enough with the self-sabotage. Enough with keeping things in your life that you know are tearing you apart. There's something powerful about choosing stillness in a world that thrives on chaos. It takes courage to walk away, to say no, to stop explaining yourself. It takes strength to be the quiet in the middle of the storm. But that strength is the foundation of peace. The truth is, peace is not lost. It's buried under layers of noise, distraction, false attachments, and unresolved pain. You don't need to go find data, you need to clear what's on top of it. What does that look like? It looks like finally deleting the number of someone who only calls when they need something. It looks like not replying to the message that's only meant to reopen a wound. It looks like taking a walk alone without music, without scrolling, and just letting your thoughts settle. It looks like saying no without guilt. It looks like unfollowing people who make you compare, compete, or shrink yourself. It looks like sitting in silence without being afraid of what you might feel. But most of all, it looks like honesty, brutal, uncomfortable honesty. Ask yourself, what am I still allowing in my life that is stealing my peace? What thought, what habit, what relationship, and more importantly, why am I still allowing it? Because if we're honest, we often already know what needs to go. We just delay the decision. We overthink. We lie to ourselves. saying we'll handle it later. But later becomes months, and months become years, and we wonder why we're stuck. You cannot plant peace in soil poisoned by your own indecision. You can't bloom while you're holding on to what's killing your roots. And sometimes, the greatest act of peace is not meditation or affirmation, it's removal, subtraction. Cutting off what you know is making you sick. You see, there is a price for everything, and the price of peace is discomfort. Discomfort of letting go, discomfort of walking away, discomfort of being misunderstood, of being alone for a while, of starting over. But that discomfort is temporary. The peace that follows is not. Compare that to the chaos you cling to with the endless loop of drama, pain, overthinking, guilt, self-doubt. That's not temporary, that's chronic. That's the cost you pay when you choose not to choose. And yes, it is a choice. Even silence is a choice. Even staying where you are, hoping things will fix themselves, that's a choice. So, what are you choosing? Because you don't get to keep your chaos and ask the universe for peace in the same breath. That's not how life works. That's not how the soul works. Imagine you're in a room full of loud, shouting voices, and you want to hear the sound of your own heart. You can't, not until you ask everyone to leave, or until you leave. It's the same with life. If your inner world is full of noise, it's because you haven't asked some voices to leave, and that is on you. You're not responsible for what hurt you, but you are responsible for what you allow to keep hurting you. At some point, healing stops being about what happened and starts being about what you're still doing, still calling that person, still replaying that memory, still avoiding that hard conversation, still ignoring your own intuition. Peace begins the moment you stop pretending that chaos is normal. It begins the moment you stop glamorizing the grind that's actually draining you. It begins when you stop confusing stress with importance. It begins when you stop sacrificing your well-being just to feel needed. You are not here to constantly manage the emotions of other people while yours bleed out in silence. You are not here to shrink yourself for the comfort of others. You are not here to carry emotional debt that doesn't belong to you. The people who love you will understand your boundaries. The ones who don't were only loyal to your lack of them. So stop asking, why don't I feel peace? Start asking, what am I still doing that peace refuses to join? Because peace is not stubborn, it's sacred. It doesn't show up in places where it's not valued. It doesn't live in hearts that are already full of resentment, comparison, or fear. It will wait, it will watch, and it will return a broken bar the moment you finally let go of what never deserved to stay. You are often the one disturbing your own peace. It's a hard truth to swallow, but one that will change your life forever. The greatest threat to your peace isn't always what others have done to you. It's not the betrayal, the loss, the rejection, or the chaos around you. More often than not, the biggest storm you face is the one you create in your own mind. You are often the one disturbing your own peace. We like to point outward when life feels heavy. We blame the people who wronged us, the job that drains us, the past that haunts us. We search for someone, something, some circumstance to carry the weight of our suffering. But peace isn't stolen up, it's surrendered, not all at once, but little by little, with every thought we dwell on, every argument we revisit in our heads, every wound we choose not to let heal. What keeps you up at night is not always the person who hurt you, and it's your refusal to stop thinking about them. What exhausts you isn't always your responsibility, it's the pressure you place on yourself to do everything perfectly. What breaks your spirit isn't just what happened in your past, it's the way you keep dragging it into your present. There is a quiet war inside many people between who they are and what they think they must be, between what they feel and what they allow themselves to express. And this inner conflict is what destroys peace, slowly and silently. You must understand this. Peace is not found in perfect circumstances. Peace is what you allow when you stop wounding yourself with your own thoughts, when you stop being your own enemy, when you stop reaching into the past for evidence that you're not enough, when you stop building stories in your mind that turn small problems into unbearable weights. Think of how much energy you spend worrying about what might happen, only to realize later that none of it ever did. Think of how often you replay conversations that are long over, searching for different ways you could have responded. Think of how you keep trying to predict who will hurt you next, instead of healing from the last person who did. This is not protection. This is self-inflicted pain. The mind is powerful, and when left undisciplined, it becomes a prison. You can live in the safest place, surrounded by good people, with every opportunity in front of you, and still feel trapped, because of the stories you keep telling yourself, that you're not enough, that no one understands you, that things will never change. These are not truths. These are fears dressed as facts, and every time you entertain them, you give them life. You give them room to grow. You cannot be at peace while also hosting anxiety as a guest in your mind. You cannot relax while also feeding your thoughts reasons to panic. You cannot heal while you keep scratching at old wounds with your own hands. It's time to take a hard look at how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. It's time to observe the voice that lives inside your head. Is it kind, or is it cruel? Does it lift you or limit you? Because that voice, your inner dialogue, is shaping your reality far more than any outside force. The words you say to yourself when you fail, the names you call yourself when you're rejected, the way you beat yourself up over things you did years ago. That voice creates your world. And here's the truth most people avoid. If someone else spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, you'd call it abuse. But when it's coming from within, you call it being realistic. You call it holding yourself accountable. You call it motivation. But it's not. It's punishment disguised as discipline. And it does not bring peace, it breeds shame. You must stop using your thoughts to punish yourself for being human, for not knowing better before you knew better, for breaking down, for falling short, for needing rest, for not having it all figured out. You're not failing. You're learning. You're not broken. You're growing. But you won't believe that if you keep judging yourself by impossible standards and unrealistic timelines. You won't experience peace if your mind is constantly measuring your worth by your productivity, appearance, or other people's approval. Another way we disturb our own peace is through control of the belief that if we just plan enough, work enough, predict enough, we can avoid pain. But life doesn't obey control. It moves through seasons. It brings both joy and sorrow, gain and loss. And peace comes not from trying to control life, but from learning to respond to it with grace. When you try to control everything, you carry everything, and that weight is too heavy. You worry about things that haven't happened. You assume what people are thinking without asking. You make decisions out of fear rather than trust. You create scenarios in your mind that haven't occurred, and then you suffer emotionally as if they already have. This mental noise becomes your prison, and then you wonder why you can't hear peace knocking. Let go. Let go of needing to be liked by everyone. Let go of needing to fix every situation. Let go of needing to be strong all the time. Let go of needing closure from people who never gave you honesty. Let go of needing to predict the future to feel safe. Peace doesn't come when everything is certain. Peace comes when you learn to sit with uncertainty without falling apart. And perhaps most painfully, a peace is lost when we keep defining ourselves by our pain. When we hold on to our victimhood like a shield. Yes, you were hurt. Yes, you were betrayed. Yes, life was unfair. But you are not your wound. And the more you identify with what broke you, the longer you delay what can heal you. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to be angry. But you are not meant to live there forever. At some point, you must decide, do I want to be right about my pain or free from it? It's not about denying what happened. It's about not letting it define who you are becoming. There is peace waiting for you on the other side of forgiveness, and not for them, but for yourself. Forgiveness of your past self. Forgiveness of your present struggles. Forgiveness of your future mistakes. You can be your own sanctuary or your own storm. That choice begins with how you treat yourself and your mind. Discipline your thoughts. Redirect your focus. Detach from what is not in your control. Speak to yourself with the same compassion you give others. This is not just emotional advice, it is spiritual practice, and it changes everything. You are not at war with the world. You are at war with your own resistance to peace. And peace is not silent because it doesn't exist. Peace is silent because it will not compete with the noise you choose to keep. It waits, it watches, and it returns the moment you quiet your mind long enough to hear it whisper, I was always here. You just never stopped fighting yourself long enough to feel me. Letting go is a choice, not a feeling. We wait too long to let go. We wait for the right moment, for the perfect mood, for the pain to feel lighter, for the resentment to fade on its own. We tell ourselves that when the time is right, we'll finally release what's been weighing us down. But that moment never comes. Because letting go isn't something that happens to you, it's something you decide. Letting go is a choice, not a feeling. We spend so much time hoping that our emotions will catch up to our logic. We know someone is toxic, yet we don't leave. We know that our anger is poisoning us, yet we don't release it. We know that the past is over, yet we keep revisiting it like it owes us something. We wait to feel ready, but peace doesn't wait for readiness, it responds to resolve. You don't let go when it feels easy, you let go when you finally choose to stop suffering. There's something you're holding onto right now, a person, a memory, a regret, a version of yourself you wish you could have been, and it sits there in your heart like an anchor, heavy, constant, quietly dragging down every part of you that wants to rise. And the more you try to ignore it, the more it shows up in your thoughts, your body, your choices. You wake up tired, not because you didn't sleep, but because you carried that weight with you all night. Letting go is not forgetting. It's not pretending it didn't matter. It's not even about saying that what happened was okay. Letting go is simply saying, I will no longer give my present to something that belongs in my past. We convince ourselves that we're being loyal by holding on, loyal to the love we lost, loyal to the pain we endured, loyal to the version of ourselves that was hurt. But loyalty to pain isn't strength, it's a prison. You cannot build a new life while gripping tightly to the ruins of an old one. You cannot heal with the same hands that keep picking at the wound. And yet, we hesitate, because letting go often feels like betrayal. Betrayal of the story we told ourselves, betrayal of the effort we put in, betrayal of our identity as someone who was wronged. But the truth is, it's not betrayal, it's bravery. It takes courage to release what once felt like everything. It takes courage to stop looking back for answers you'll never get. It takes courage to move on without closure, without justice, without validation. That courage doesn't come in the form of a feeling. It doesn't arrive like inspiration. It doesn't knock gently on your door and say, now is the time. It begins as a quiet decision, a silent moment of truth between you and yourself, a realization that says, this can't go on anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I choose to stop. Letting go is a decision you may have to make every single day, sometimes every single hour. You may still feel the sadness, you may still feel the anger, but that doesn't mean you haven't let go. It just means you're human. It just means you're healing. Letting go doesn't erase the emotion, it just stops the emotion from being in control. We often confuse emotional intensity with importance. We think that because something hurts deeply, it must be valuable. We think that if a person's absence still aches, then we must need them. But not everything that hurts is meant to stay. Not every pain is a lesson. Some pain is just a signal. This doesn't belong here anymore. There's a quiet kind of suffering and holding on. It's not always traumatic. Sometimes, it's just the way your chest tightens when you see a certain name, the way your stomach sinks when you remember that conversation, the way you avoid certain places, certain songs, certain dates. That's the toll, and you pay it every day you don't decide to let go. Sometimes the thing you're holding onto isn't even a persona, it's a version of yourself. Maybe you're holding onto who you thought you'd be by now. Maybe you're punishing yourself for the mistakes you made, the opportunities you missed, the people you hurt. And so you live in a constant state of quiet guilt. You sabotage your progress. You downplay your growth. You don't let yourself feel proud, because somewhere deep down, you believe you don't deserve to move on. But here's the truth. You don't have to wait for guilt to leave before you give yourself permission to grow. You don't have to wait for every wound to be healed before you start living again. Letting go is not the result of healing, it's the beginning of it. When you choose to let go, you're choosing to stop reliving the pain. You're choosing to stop feeding the fire. You're choosing to give your energy to the present, not the past. That choice changes everything. It changes the way you speak to yourself. It changes the way you show up in relationships. It changes the way you dream, the way you rest, the way you breathe. But it is a choice. And like all choices, it comes with a cost. You will lose something. You may lose the comfort of a familiar pain. You may lose the excuse for why you haven't grown. You may lose the attention or sympathy that comes from being stuck, but what you gain in return is far greater. You gain peace, you gain clarity, you gain the chance to live fully, without dragging a broken yesterday into your tomorrow. People say time heals all wounds, but time only heals what you're willing to release. You can live 10 years with the same pain if you never choose to stop carrying it. You can grow older and still be chained to the same moment in your past. Time is not to heal, the choice is. No one can choose for you. No one can carry your emotional burden. No one else knows what it feels like to wake up every day and face the weight you've been holding. But you do, and that means you also have the power to change it. It starts with a quiet whisper. I am done. I'm done waiting for an apology. I'm done replaying the memory. I'm done being angry at myself. I'm done justifying why I still feel stuck. I'm done waiting to feel ready, because ready may never come. You may never wake up one day and suddenly feel free, but you can wake up and choose to act like you are. Choose to walk like it, speak like it, breathe like it, and soon enough, the feelings follow the actions. Your mind follows your movement. The longer you wait to feel ready, the longer you'll wait to feel peace. Letting go is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's giving yourself back. Giving yourself back your power, your clarity, your joy. You don't need to hold everything together. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to carry the memory of every mistake or every loss. Just remind yourself it mattered. It mattered. It changed you, but it does not get to define you anymore. Letting go is not about pretending something didn't happen. It's about choosing to no longer let it rule who you are becoming. It's about saying, yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt. And yes, I survived. But now, I choose to live and not just exist in the shadow of what was. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to release. And you don't need anyone's permission but your own. The past only holds power when you keep feeding it. Stop feeding it. Starve it. Feed your future instead. Letting go may not feel good at first. It may feel like loss. It may feel like fear. But beyond that fear is everything you've been craving: a peace, joy, lightness, freedom. You don't have to wait to feel those things. You just have to choose them, and then choose them again, and again, until one day, you realize you've stopped looking back. Letting go is a choice, one that you make not just once, but over and over again. Not because it's easy, but because you're finally ready to be free. You don't need to chase peace. It's already yours, a broken bar waiting. But it cannot stay in a heart filled with resentment, regret, and rage. The world may not change. People might never say sorry, but you can choose to release, to rise, to rest. The moment you stop disturbing your soul with things that do not deserve your energy, a broken bar, that is when peace will return. Not like a flood, but like a sunrise, slow, quiet, beautiful, and absolutely real. You can't find peace while still doing what hurts you. But the moment you stop a broken bar, you'll wonder why you waited so long.